Just signal if the sound is too bad. It was a question about Heidegger and Heidegger's mistake, and it was just a chance for you to become more clear on what that mistake was. Thank you for the paper. I think it's wonderful. So in a way, I'm sorry this is just sidetracking you, because I know a little bit about Heidegger, and so I thought I'd ask about this. It seemed that you thought that the problem was that he couldn't separate, when he understood cybernetics, he couldn't distinguish between calculation and, you either said presentation or representation, I wasn't sure, but it seems to me that later on, when you spoke about the Gegenstand, and the way in which, in his understanding of cybernetics, which I think is closer to yours than maybe you think. Anyway, when you later spoke about the way in which subject and object, that distinction is destroyed by cybernetics, I think that's closer to the truth. And in a way, I think what Heidegger says about cybernetics as a result of that is that it does go beyond representation, precisely for the reason you said, because there is no subject to act as the support for that representation. And that's what's novel about cybernetic technology for Heidegger, I think, that it moves beyond representation in that way. And in a way, one could adopt a reading of later Heidegger where he's not hostile to technology. I mean, I wonder if your reading is wonderful, but I wonder if you fall into the all too common trap of thinking that Heidegger is entirely negative about technology. Whereas I think...
I avoided, I try to avoid that actually by saying that it is not technoscience that is to be vilified, because it still does present Dasein with a sort of way to go about its destiny and inquiry into being, but it is the cybernetic actually tendency that blocks this and enables us to do that. So please, please go on if you have any.
Oh, just very briefly, yes, no, that's great. I think you're right. It's just that if one would have to have I suppose I have a very highly determined reading of Heidegger, but it seems to me that if he wants to think of being in a way that wouldn't transform it into a substance or a being, this means he has to think of being in a way that is below the level of representation, and so below the level of concepts. And so what is nice about cybernetics is that it does precisely what you say, that it removes the level of representation, which is to say the level of concepts. And it doesn't think being, precisely, it's a radical forgetting of being, but it opens up the possibility of a non-conceptual understanding of thinking, rather, of being. So it was just a thought.
Thank you for that. Any comments or questions, please?
I have a question. I was interested in if you thought of inefficiency and whether we had Antoine Trouvois, who is here, talking about algorithmic governmentality and in a similar way, the absolute efficiency of these kinds of implementations of technology and instrumentalizations of technology. And she was suggesting that we need some kind of return to, not necessarily a return, but a kind of reintroduction of kind of slower, perhaps less efficient mechanisms, things that cut processes so that we're not by default retaining everything, and so that things aren't just speeding up by default constantly. So I was wondering if you could speak to that and what you would make of that.
If that is possible, well, it would be very desirable, but I don't think that any conscious decision to slow down what Robert Noyce, I think in his new book is called malign velocities. I don't think that there can be any decision to actually slow down or make less efficient these technologies that we have. But indeed, I do see this process of speeding up and efficiency as a very undesirable situation. But I do not believe that we can have a return to or a slowing down of the process. But if the most optimistic thing that we can hope for is a new kind of trans-individuation or a new emergence of forms of subjectivity after the cybernetic dominion or through the cybernetic dominion. But right now, there's only short-circuiting.
Would you say that your position is an accelerationist position?
No, I actually I would not say, because I believe that acceleration is very undesirable. My position is very much like Virilio's about acceleration, but I do not believe that we can slow down. It is desirable if it were possible, but I do not believe that it is possible for the needs of the market and the global form of capitalism demand the increased efficiency towards absolute efficiency.
Thank you very much for your lecture, which was extremely interesting. And I wanted to ask you first if you believe in the possibility of positive pharmacology of cybernetics. If you believe that it's possible, first. Second, if you believe that it is possible to engage into a post-cybernetic situation. And I would like to add to the question by Alexander concerning the question of Antoinette Rouvroy, that it's not necessarily the question of slowdown, of slowing, opposition to speed. Maybe there is no choice between speed and slowdown, but maybe it's possible to make another accumulation, another economy of accumulation of time gaining by automatization. Because personally I believe that cybernetics is the last stage of automatization. Automatization begins sooner, and that now what you call a new trans-individuation should be a new economy of speed and time. Speed is not time, but speed can furnish time. And I think if we have to, for example, to produce a therapeutic of this pharmacon, that the automata working at the speed of light is, it is necessarily an economy of speed, which is not an opposition to speed.
Thank you for the comments. Yeah, I actually do realize the rather very small chance of any actually, as you said, new horizons with the cybernetic actually as pharmacology, because most of the things that I presented and that I see is the pharmacos in this aspect of poisonous or a short circuit. There is a very, very small chance that this, because as you said, this automata speeding, working at the speed of light, is not at all a human possibility. But there is, I believe, a certain chance after that. Yes. Any question? Did you want to say something?
Yes. The question of economy of speed is the one of the improbable. So there is not only a very small chance, there is no chance. But the question is not calculable chance. It's not a question of quantity. It is a question of bifurcation. It is a question of what I call infinite speed. That is the time of thinking. Because I believe that to think is always, I will talk about that tomorrow, but our nervous system works at 50 meters a second. You know that. And an optical fiber works, I said that yesterday, at 200 millions meters a second. So the differential is 4 millions, the coefficient of difference. So it's not possible it's not the same level. And the problem is quantity and quality. And here, the question is the infinite, not in the metaphysical way, but as what I believe to be the question of negentropy. Because negentropy is absolutely improbable. The appearance of a negentropic structure is not at all probable in a physical cosmos. It's not, but we are this improbable. So now the next step is what is the next improbable negentropic socket which will appear. And this is not a question of quantity of chance. This is a question of will.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.